Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Today on Squawk Pod. Rising crude prices lead to record profit for the U.S. oil industry. ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods tells us about the price pressures hitting the industry as the conflict with Iran continues and snarls the critical Strait of Hormuz.
That resource in the region has to get to market. The strait has to open up. It is the main artery of supply for the world that powers economic growth everywhere. And so eventually those barrels are going to have to flow. And the only question is, how long will it take to get to some resolution here?
The new AI models are so smart, they're the next generation of hackers. FAR AI's Adam Gleave on raising them right.
So suddenly we need to be turning this more into a science or engineering practice with rigorous safety standards and testing rather than the current more organic approach.
And is it too late?
Can we just unplug these bastards at some point?
Plus, a tale of two mega cap earnings reports, New York versus Kalshi, and the wild week at World Cup parent FIFA.
FIFA advisor on White House's World Cup panel resigns to protest Infantino's private equity plan. Infantino's the head of FIFA.
Yeah, he spent a couple weeks with the president.
It is Friday, July 31st, 2026. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue, please.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We are live from the NASDAQ Market Square in NASDAQ Market Site in Times Square. There's somebody standing right behind me. He's distracting me.
There is.
Hi. I'm Becky Quick, along with Joe Kernan. Andrew is out today. It's a Friday, and so far it looks like things are looking pretty good, at least if you're a bull. Some pretty massive gains for the major averages yesterday. Microsoft shares spiked 16%. That was their strongest session since the peak of the financial crisis all the way back in 2008, the biggest gains they'd seen in one day in 18 years. That stock trading all the way up at $451.10. You did see Meta Platforms off by about 8%, but Microsoft added just shy of $450 billion to its market cap. That was the most by any stock in a single day.
Hello, come on in, hit the thumbs up. We're going to listen to a little bit of this because they're going to lead us into this discussion on energy scarcity. Hit that thumbs up.
But we did see quite a lot of activity yesterday and quite a lot of movement in what was happening with those major averages. In fact, at this point, Joe, after a pretty volatile week, we are looking at all three of the major averages higher for the week at this moment. NASDAQ 100 is down, but only by about 0.08%.
Microsoft was early in
but then the gains kept adding.
But it was early in sort of consolidating some of its gains. Remember what that company was worth at the top? It was $550.
Yeah, Dr. Fauci, we all knew that at some point there would be a reckoning. Looking back at that I described 2020, that whole thing, as a real life Black Mirror episode. Have you ever seen Black Mirror program on, I believe it's Netflix? It's like a Twilight Zone, but 10 times darker.
Look at the chart. It's kind of right in. It's regained 50% of.
I was waiting for them to get to this
in the last
discussion about energy. Let's see if we can jump ahead.
Like Meta, that was, and yet they're.
Because,
okay with that.
Look, guys, we got a couple of things going on from the standpoint.
And New Yorkers love our product. We've reached out to the governor and to the attorney general. There's big questions about that. No doubt the other teams would get some money. Right now,
All right, we're going to jump into it. We're dealing with a situation here. I don't know if you guys feel it. We really feel it here in Maryland. The energy scarcity issue. Now, what we try to do on this channel is look at things from the standpoint of how do we go beyond just recognizing a problem, right? How do we, quite frankly, make money? Because, look, these bastards out there that are running the world today, we could protest all we want. There comes a point where you have to as long as it remains within the bounds of morality, that's my rule for me, okay? You have to say, when do I become a participant in order to at least offset my losses? In this case, we're dealing with gas and electric. We're dealing with energy, period, okay? I don't care if you drive an electric car like we do, or an ICE car, internal combustion engine car, like we do. You got to power that bad boy, right? So either you're getting hit from the gas and electric side, or you're getting hit from the oil side. There is a such thing as it's known as the energy infrastructure. There are four components to this. I'm sorry, it's called the modern information infrastructure. There are four components to it. I'll go over those in a minute. Let's look at some comments first. You take one component out of this infrastructure, society cannot function. So we're going to look at this issue of energy scarcity, and we're going to look at where we get in and where we put ourselves into the stream of the money that is involved. Scarcity in a market usually indicates an opportunity, okay? Yeah, Dr. Fauci, perfect example of, and look, this guy, and I haven't paid too much attention to this issue since, I would say, 2021. My wife and I, we were one of those that did not get the vaccine. We looked at it, okay? But our ultimate conclusion was this. When we sit down and watch an episode of Star Trek on streaming, we have the version of these streaming services where you get commercials, okay? That's the most affordable option. You know me, right? So a lot of these commercials are pharmaceutical commercials, right? And on each and every last one of those commercials, there are a litany of all kinds of side effects. In my opinion, some of these side effects are worse than the ailment they're trying to treat. Okay? Thoughts of self-harm. Let's just put it that way for YouTube purposes, right? That is a side effect of a lot of these medications. Okay? When you listen to them rattle on, and there are some drugs that they are marketing on television, right? That the list of side effects is actually, it actually takes more time to read the list of side effects than it does to tell you what the drug is supposed to do for you. So we're looking at all that. And my wife, she has a educational background in biology. So we're talking about it. Biology really interests her. Okay. We're like, this thing hasn't been out there long enough, right? No one's telling us what the side effects are, right? And then the coup de grace, or if you're from West Baltimore, the coup de grace of the whole thing was when the government indemnified the drug companies and said, yeah, if you grow a third eyeball out the back of your head, you can't sue. And so we're like, okay, no accountability. There hasn't been out there enough time. And my God, people, do you remember when Bill de Blasio did the whole thing with, oh, and if you get it, I'll give you a cheeseburger and some fries. And he sat there, and it's like very weird ad. He was eating the fry, and it was just like, what the hell is this? I went to, during the phase where the elixir was coming into play, Krispy Kreme said, if you get it, we give you a free donut. Okay. God knows what will happen to you. We don't know the side effects, but you can come in and get a free donut. So I'm standing in Krispy Kreme, right? I'm making an order. And this woman, my hand to God, this woman comes in. She acted like she just hit Powerball. And she likes, it was me and another cat standing in there waiting. We were like waiting to order. She jumps in front of us and we're like, oh, okay. Hey, I got it. Can I get a free? I want my free donut. She went crazy. She walked out with one free donut. And look, this Krispy Kreme is really not on the way anywhere. You got to make up your mind to go there. So it's like she put a lot of effort into getting the free donut. I wonder, did that move her to get the shot in the first place? I don't know. But it was a crazy time, right? And little Lord Fauci, he had been in the government for 40 years. He was a highest paid government employee. He had his little fiefdom, right? But I am convinced that this guy's ego has been off the charts for many decades. And then the spotlight landed on him, okay? The spotlight landed on him. I remember we were at a fire and I had a sledgehammer, okay? And that something happened where we needed to bust through a wall, a wall. And I felt so good when the lieutenant said, Tyrone, I need you. You got the sledgehammer. That's how Fauci felt. It was like, I'm the man now. Okay. All right. Very dangerous time. Do you guys put it in the chat? I know I said I was going to get to some comments. Give me a second. I'm on a roll. Do you guys remember when that cat was surfing in the Pacific Ocean and the authorities, they came and they had like a power. They had to have used well over $100,000 of resources to get a surfer, a lone surfer, out of the Pacific Ocean. And they handcuffed that guy and walked him off. And I said, "Oh, this is new territory here. This is crazy. This is crazy." All right, LJ. Hello, my beautiful friends. Hi, Tyrone. I told S-Files yesterday you are streaming again. I asked her to join us. She didn't get yesterday's notification. Okay. All right, it'll filter through as we do more of these guys. Yes, we're back. Let's see, who else do we have here? Deb is in the house. Thank you, Deb. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Feeling like the old days, right? Everybody hit the thumbs up so we can remember. There was a time not that long ago when we were getting like 1,000. When we looked at it on the replay, it was like 1,000 hits on a live stream. We will get back there. We will return to that era. Let's see who else we have here. Let's see. Deb says, I know a nurse who they came after and said, you will do this now or be fired on the spot. She caved. Yeah, man. I know a lot of people that were in that predicament. And I don't begrudge anyone. I don't know your situation. You got to do what you got to do. But there were a lot of people. Remember the New York City employees who said that they wouldn't do it. And they fired them. And they took their asses to court, and they wound up having to rehire them with back pay. So at the end of the day, they got an extended paid vacation. Good for them. Good for them. And I thought to myself, right? My wife and I had that conversation. She said, what if we were in the work world and they said, you got to do this? I said, we had to find new jobs because there's no indemnification. Something happens to you and you got 8 sick days, right? Once that is exhausted, that you can't go. You're not going to go to that employer and they're not going to accept, hey, well, you told me to get it. Well, we got to put you on the step and all that crap. I'm sure that happened to a lot of people. A lot of people. No, you're not going to make you're not going to make me getting I'll say elixir, a potion that has not been tested. We do not know the side effects. You're not going to make that a condition of my employment. No, you will not. I come here and I trade some hours for discounted dollars. Okay, fine, right? You got me the vacation and all that. All right, cool. From 9 to 5, I'm your man. But no, you're not going to get into dictating things that could affect my long-term healthcare. And I'm still waiting for somebody to sue a corporation. That needs to happen. For any of these corporations that demanded people, and maybe it has happened. I haven't paid that close attention to it. Yeah, and what's his name? Fauci came out there at one point and said, "I am science." Like, damn. Norm, a few Virginia legislators have sent a letter to Spanberger for a special session to address water issues east of I-95. A report was completed as requested by the prior administration. It was withheld. Okay, so is that in relation to the data? Because Virginia's gone crazy with the data centers. Okay. All right, we'll get into this in a second here, guys. I just want to recognize you guys. I really appreciate you. Rockhouse, I was looking for you there. Rockhouse says, I also remember when the guys who snuck out at night and built a dummy man on the beach and then videoed when the cops showed up to arrest him. And that, I will say this, and then I'll put this to bed. I'll land the plane. When I see, like, what's going on in the UK, for example, okay, or like those officers that walked the guy off of the beach, that they were in a big power boat at one point, like, corralling this guy. I'm like, are y'all really thinking about what you're doing? Are you really thinking? Because the whole just following orders thing, I think didn't we mature beyond that back in the late 40s, early 50s. Nuremberg trials told us that that's not a good enough excuse, right? Norm goes on to say, you notice that Hope Waltz has never been shown at any riots. Wonder why? Good question. Okay, guys, look. All right, so in Maryland, let me show you something about the state of Maryland. Give me a second. Let me find it. Where did I put it? Here it is. In Maryland, this is our energy generation mix. Okay. Let me do this. Okay. So we import, well, let me give you, these are the numbers for 2026 so far. Hang with me. 39.8% imports. We in Maryland, we import 40% of our power, okay? So far. Now, in 2025, we imported 42%. Solar energy makes up, or we get about 5% of our energy from solar, okay? 1.1% from wind. Okay, so 6% of Maryland's energy comes from wind and solar. We got to import 40%. What are the heavy lifters? Natural gas and nuclear. Nuclear 22%, natural gas 24%. Our governor at his last State of the State address said, we have to double down on wind and solar. So a lot of people in the state are like, but that's not working. The bills are going up because we import all of this power. There's a delivery fee that we have on our bills. I don't know if anyone else out there has that. And so some people say, is the governor making money off of wind and solar? I don't believe so. I think that the governor is making money, and a lot of these people that go out here and preach wind and solar, I'd like to look at their portfolio because I believe they're making money on nuclear, natural gas, and oil. Okay. Traditional fossil fuel based nuclear energy sources. How could that be? Because policy wise, they are contributing to the scarce situation, the scarce supply situation. And again, scarcity drives up cost. And when costs are driven up, then you run into situations like this. Hold on. Exxon, they're doing damn good these days. Hold on. Why'd that do that? Okay, hold on. Okay, let me go back to this. All right. Where is Exxon? All right. Exxon and Chevron profits surge on rising oil prices due to the Iranian war. They're doing good. Why? Because scarcity, Strait of Hormuz. Okay. They probably hope that situation never gets solved. Right? It was driving up the price of oil. So we're talking about energy. We're talking about oil. We're talking about and all of its derivatives. Oil is in everything. Asphalt, plastic, petroleum is even in, believe it or not, some food products. Okay, petroleum derivatives, hair care products, everywhere. Not only is it everywhere, but you need it to bring goods to market. So whatever it is, it's on a plane, a train, a ship, truck, guy in the car that's delivering to your home from Amazon. The oil majors' profits surged as oil prices rose due to the supply disruption in the Middle East caused by the Iranian war. Chevron reported adjusted earnings of $6.06 per share, 50 cents higher than Wall Street's estimates. Exxon posted adjusted earnings of $3.52 a share, missing estimates by just 8 cents. Still good. Chevron CEO Mike Wirth warned that the global energy markets are running out of time as the war expands and global inventories fall. Okay. Inventories falling, supply and demand, right? When the demand remains the same or increases, yet supplies decrease or stagnate, whoever's in the middle of that can make a lot of money. Now, of course, we're not day traders here at the Soldiers of Finance, but there are such things as index funds. And the S&P energy sector is doing really well. It's up 536% in the past 5 years. We're looking for 8 to 10%, right? But this is a manifestation of scarcity. Let me look at some, we got some video for you. Hold on for a second. Let me go back to some comments. Why did that comment? I don't know. You notice that? Okay, yeah, we did that. Let's see. Norm says solar will not in itself supply enough energy for demands. It should only be used as a supplemental source. The cost to build, maintain, and supply are never, ever completely explained. Correct. We looked at solar for our home, okay? And just didn't add up. When your meter is going to run backwards. Yeah, maybe after 30 years, okay? Because the cost to put it in, we really got into researching that solar thing, right? And a lot of the residential roofs that you see solar on, a lot of those companies have gone out of business. Would you believe that a lot of the solar panels on a lot of these roofs are inactive? They're inactive because the company that came out, and a ton of subcontractors doing the work. I would say that if somebody, and there are residential applications for solar, but you got to look very closely at the cost benefit analysis. And the only company that I would go through is Elon Musk, the Solar City. That's it. I think it's Solar City, right? That whole Tesla thing. No one else. Because I believe that, Tesla's going to be here. If Tesla outlive me, that's all we need to have happen for my solar panels to, provide energy. But they're upfront costs that you cannot escape. So yes, solar does have its niche applications. But when you start to look at it from the standpoint of, all right, how much energy exactly is this solar field generating? And when you look at the square footage versus, say, a nuclear reactor, right? It just does not add up. It does not add up. It's not worth it. All right. We got a situation here in Maryland where Constellation Energy wants to build a third reactor on the Calvert Cliffs nuclear power plant. But our Democrat supermajority in the legislature, they are so fixated on wind and solar, okay, that they're tying them up in red tape. LJ says Nevada natural gas, 43% to 55% of Nevada energy uses solar power. Okay, it's Nevada. I can see that. 27 to 40% combining utility scale and small scale. Geothermal energy, 8 to 9%, and hydropower 4 to 5 in comparison to Maryland. Thank you. That's a good perspective. Okay. I know someone who they built their house. When they built their house, they installed from the ground up a geothermal energy system, and it works so well. Okay. But when he explained to me how it works, it was apparent to me that at least for now, it is only going to work on a new construction cost effectively, right? And his bills are like they're minuscule. And in full disclosure, he does live by himself, so not using a lot of energy. But Norm says geothermal energy is so underrated, and an increase in use would be great. See, I'm no energy expert, but I've always envisioned, what do you need? You need to get the turbine spinning, right? That's what you want, right? So nuclear does that by heating up the water and creating steam. Okay, cool. So you want the turbine to spin. What is stopping us from taking an existing power plant, right, and sticking a straw down into the parts of the earth where it's warm and using that energy to heat water right there in the existing power plant to spin another turbine? Why hasn't that been done? There's a reason, right? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Alex says solar's a fad for the most part. Yeah, solar works well in like space, on the space station. And there are some folk that like live off grid that really make that option work well. But like where I live, I got these 2 peach trees in my backyard, right? I planted them both at the same time. But one is closer to the wood line than the other. These trees are the same age. And the one that's closest to the wood line falls into shadow about 2 hours earlier than the other one. And the difference in size is dramatic. So I say that to say, like, my house wouldn't get the full benefit. We don't get enough sun. I got a lot of woods around me. Okay. Norm says, you're correct. I just saw an article about inactive solar units on homes in California and other states. Some were never completely connected. Ain't that something? So you got the equivalent of an 8-track tape right up on your roof. That's why I never jump on board with a new technology immediately. I let it mature a little bit. Yeah, LJ, I have all kinds of fruit trees. I have peach, pear, Granny Smith apple, nectarine. All right. So let's see here. Let's move along. Present you guys. Okay, so watch this. Watch this. Now, again, this is we can be on either side of this issue. Now, the question is, do data centers impact your power bill? All right, for Maryland, yeah, they most certainly do. But let's hear what these folks have to say in Las Vegas. Okay, this is out there with you, LJ.
Over power is headed to court as the debate over data centers and the impact on water and the grid heats up across Nevada. NV Energy slaps a developer with a lawsuit. The power company says these large energy users must pay their own costs for power and infrastructure. Track, that's a data center developer, defends itself, saying it never asked others to pay their power bills.
Let me explain to you something about that, okay? And I learned this during the campaign. When these power companies are saying, hey, we're paying our bills, okay? Sure you are. Otherwise, they cut you off, right? But it's how you pay your bills. So in Maryland, one of the things that we wanted to introduce is a more well-defined tariff for data center users. There's a residential tariff, which dictates the rates that residents pay. There is a business tariff. There is an industrial tariff. Let's say you got a steel mill, right? And we wanted a specific data center tariff because they use so much energy that we wanted to incentivize them to build their own energy infrastructure. So their tariff would have been the highest in order for them to look at it and say, okay, it's going to be more cost effective if we do something with a small modular reactor, or if we build our own infrastructure for now. Okay. Otherwise, they would have had to pay the higher tariff. So now, I don't know about in the state of Nevada. Okay. But when these companies come out and say, hey, we pay our bills, how do you pay your bill? Because me, having a ring light in the dryer running, that's a hell of a lot different from you having a data center going full bore 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Thanks for being with us here at 10 o'clock. For the past few days, as the temps have reached their highest this summer, the Public Utilities Commission has gotten an earful from customers worried about their energy bills going up.
And for some time, so many of you have had these questions. Do data centers impact my bill? Are they tied to the proposed rate increase? What about daily demand? Fox 5 is taking your questions tonight to NV Energy.
Data centers consume massive amounts of water and electricity.
For weeks, people have brought their concerns before the Public Utilities Commission. They don't want their energy bills to go up, and they don't want their bill to pay for dozens of new data centers popping up across southern Nevada.
I live near the Keystone Data Center.
Those funds should not be passed on.
I don't understand why we would have to pick up the brunt of that.
Fox 5 asked NV Energy about new and proposed changes to your bill. First, the deferred energy accounting adjustment that costed a...
Okay, now understand, here's where they start muddying the waters. We can, everything that they're going to say, just keep in mind, supply and demand.
Deliver power and fuel to you. NV Energy says if approved, the average residential customer will see an increase of 73 cents. We asked the power company, are data centers leading to the proposed rate change? NV Energy says in a statement, no, data centers are not a driver. The company says these large customers must pay the costs of infrastructure and energy amounts.
Okay, when they say data centers are not a driver, I want you to understand something, okay? In this citation I'm about to tell you is from the Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Energy. A single 100 megawatt AI data center uses roughly 80,000 times more electricity than the average home every second.
Needed. Another bill change, daily demand, already approved by the PUCN. It goes into effect on January 1st. It measures the point of your highest daily use. NV Energy says most customers will see a bill decrease.
So this whole conversation that they're having is apples and carburetors, because if you're using 80,000 times more energy than me there's no way that we can make these two use cases mesh. They're orders of magnitude beyond what we're doing. Okay. One data center.
Data centers potentially impact their bill with this daily demand.
Data centers and daily demand also are two separate issues.
NV Energy also
No, they're not. It's supply and demand.
Telling Fox 5, no, data centers are not behind the daily demand change in your bill. It's been.
All right. I hate to keep interrupting, but look, again, supply and demand. All right. If you are using 80,000 times more than the average residential home, yes, you are driving up costs, because we're all drawing from the same pool. So Nevada, y'all better, LJ, you got to lead the charge out there. Warn these people. Don't become like us out here in Maryland. We have if anybody's interested, you can go on Facebook and join this group. They call it BGE Survivors or something like that. Baltimore Gas and Electric Survivor. And you will see these bills.
Been in the works for years. NV Energy says daily demand only measures your power use, so your bill won't be affected by your neighboring companies, or data centers.
It's going to.
God have mercy. You are affected by your neighbors simply because, again, we are drawing power from the same bucket. All right, let me show you the outcome of this in Baltimore, in Maryland. Now, in Maryland, we have three primary power companies under the banner of Exelon. We have Baltimore Gas and Electric. We have Pepco, and I forget the third one. Pepco serves like that DC area, Montgomery County, PG County. Well, check this out, guys. This is really telling. We've had bills go so high out here that they had to put on a moratorium on shutoffs. Okay, check this out.
They're coming to collect. BGE is already reaching out to some customers with past due accounts 1 week before they're allowed to turn off the lights again.
Hundreds of customer complaints now leading to change.
It really was very apparent that customers were having a hard time getting through to BG&E to talk about their problems. And in fact, many customers just were reporting they could not get through to BG&E.
All right, so the lines got saturated because a lot of people were calling saying, hey, look, I got to work something out. And so the Public Service Commission put a moratorium on shutoffs because BGE was so saturated with calls that they couldn't pick up the phone.
The Maryland Public Service Commission suspended BGE shutoffs after 650 people contacted the commission's Consumer Affairs Division, many citing hours-long call wait times.
It's not fair to terminate service for customers who are having that problem communicating with the company in the first place.
It is kind of challenging waking up every day in the morning worrying about if your lights are going to be turned off today.
The collections and shutoff moratorium ends next week. BGE's website is already warning
it has ended. It ended on July 15th.
Customers. It was a topic of concern at today's launch of Bright Future Maryland, a new coalition focusing on energy costs.
They're resuming their shutoffs on July 15th. Yes, there are some protections for extreme heat, but once your power's off, it's not magically turning back on.
BGE representatives say they're already reaching out to non-low-income customers. The company cannot start contacting low-income and medical customers until July 15th and says those customers will not be shut off immediately.
We want to make sure our customers know our goal is never to disconnect the customer. It is always to partner with them and get their balances current.
The company says 290,000 customers owe more than $224 million in total. The average outstanding balance is now $774, up 42%.
That's important. Okay, you see that? The average outstanding balance, what was the percentage increase?
42%.
Up 42%. Up 42%. All right.
But you do what you have to do.
BGE says it's added customer service staff, reducing average wait times from more than 4 hours in 2025 to 2 minutes in May of this year.
We are very
And look, the issue is, yeah, the wait times are extraordinary. However, were extraordinary, but the issue, the reason the people are calling is not just to discuss your day. They're calling because they're having trouble paying the bill. The rates are the real problem, not the fact that the fact that they can't get through to someone. That's a secondary issue.
very carefully monitoring their call center activity and their call center performance to make sure that they can keep up with it.
Yes, we're prepared. The increased staffing.
BGE says it's helping customers get connected to resources to help lower their bill. The shutoff moratorium ends July 15th.
Okay, so how does that look for someone who gets shut off? Well, it's tough because, and we're out there trying to warn people that, hey, look, work with these programs, do what you got to do, make an arrangement. Because if you get shut off, you're going to have to pay that full amount in arrears plus a deposit. Okay. The situation is so bad in Maryland that BGE has a 24-month payment arrangement, 2 years, because these bills are so doggone high. Now, look at this. Feds approved the sale of the Potomac River Power Plant to a data center developer. So in Maryland, this is the idiocy that we're engaged in. We're going to get rid of a power plant, okay, that companies wanted to turn back up to full capacity. We're going to get rid of that and install a data center that's going to create a larger supply problem. Well, a bigger demand, okay, for a constrained supply. So you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here in terms of the case being made for investing in the energy sector, because we're at a point in our history where we're demanding more and more power, right? And this is not going to abate. I got a camera running here. I got 2 screens on a computer, ring light, laptop, cell phone. All right. This is not going to abate. This is going to grow in terms of the need for power. So we got to be in there in a position to profit from that, quite frankly. All right, we'll move on, but let me take some oh man, the chat is active. Y'all are doing your thing. I appreciate it. Listen, if you're in here, the cost of admission is very reasonable. It will never inflate. All it is a thumbs up. Hit that like button. I appreciate it. LJ says Nevada uses mostly natural gas. Okay. Let's see. I'm way behind here. Richard, good to see you. Richard says the average energy bill in the UK is around £3,000 a year, the highest in the world. 40% of UK energy bills are subsidies for green energy projects. Wow. We're getting up there. We've got folk in Maryland seeing $800 to $1,200 per month bills in our state. Let's see, LJ. So you got 2 data centers planned for Clark County, which includes Las Vegas. And y'all got a water situation out there, right? You're constrained in terms of water. They are planned for Henderson and Boulder City specifically. This is our largest in Lewis County. It's 105 degrees right now. And I think that the data center thing is going to wind up, again, technology is constantly miniaturizing. So these big behemoth data centers we have right now, we're not going to need them. Give it 10 years, okay? Alex says no more data centers. Let's see. The S-Files. Good to see you, S-Files. Can they explain how normal supply and demand rules don't apply to data centers, since that's what they are trying to convince these people? Exactly. Okay. But like I said yesterday, they got their lobbyists out there trying to tell people that this is all great. And don't forget, we got to beat China. You got to pay this high electricity bill. And look at this monstrosity of a data center in your backyard with the lights on all night because you got to personally stick it to Xi Jinping. David Trailer, how you doing, David? Says simple. Move all the data centers to New York. Hey, I'm for it. But see, those companies, they don't want to do that, right? Because that's a communist little enclave, and it's not business friendly, right? David goes on to say, then add free energy to free bus fare, free groceries, and free daycare. Right. 30% off seafood. I don't know if that sounds like gas station sushi to me. Let's see. Thank you, S-Files. S-Files says, I paid my admissions fee. I used to tell people when the channel got started early on, you say, hit that thumbs up. And if you don't like the video, then hit the thumbs down twice. That's when they had a thumbs down button. They don't have it anymore. Because some people's feelings got hurt, I guess. Okay. Wow, that is ironic, S-Files. We're talking about this issue, and yeah, you're in the midst of a thunderstorm. Stay careful out there. Let's see here. All right, guys. So we talked about the situation's clear, right? And it is not just any one aspect of the energy sector. It is all of them. All right. Show you this short segment real quick when it's even affecting jet fuel. Okay. And when I think of jet fuel, for some reason, when I first saw this report, I said, oh man, a Learjet crowd. But no. When you think of jet fuel, think of things like your coffee, okay? Different consumer products that travel here by air freight, okay? Not to mention the fact that when you get on a plane you want to take a vacation, okay? You may be exposed to higher prices because of the supply issues. Okay, let's go.
Is a barrel of jet fuel. It's not to scale, obviously. They normally hold 42 gallons. The global aviation industry needs about 7.8 million of these per day to keep.
All right, that's very. We need 7.8 million barrels of just jet fuel. Did he just say jet? Hold on.
This is a barrel of jet fuel. It's not to scale, obviously. They normally hold 42 gallons. The global aviation industry needs about 7.8 million of these per day to
7.8 million barrels of just jet fuel per day.
Keep flying, with about 2 million barrels moving around the globe every single day. And 20% of them pass through just one place, here, the Strait of Hormuz. Or at least they used to. Except right now, it's effectively closed. The US-Israel war on Iran has led to both sides blocking ships from transiting the strait. To make matters worse, some refiners in the region have been damaged or destroyed during the conflict. And that has stopped 1/5 of the world's jet fuel from getting into circulation. But to make matters worse, it's also stopped 1/5 of the world's crude oil from making it to other jet fuel refiners who could potentially alleviate the problem.
He just brought up a good point, the refinery aspect. So it's not just transporting the crude oil. It's got to get to places where it can be refined into gasoline, jet fuel, kerosene, on and on and on. Okay. So there are multi-steps in this process. You watch these movies and they're post-apocalyptic movies. If something like that happened, we'd be toast. Human race would be toast. Why? Well, maybe not. But the world relies on systems. A lot of these systems are invisible to us, highly sophisticated, but totally invisible. and multi-layered. When I spoke earlier of the information infrastructure, you got 4 industries. You take any one of those industries out of the mix, and our society cannot function. What are the 4 industries? Communications, transportation, commerce, and energy. Okay? Take any one of you'll say, oh, communication. Come on, we could. When back in early in my career, I was a manager of a group of engineers and technicians. What we did was we were assigned to 2 entities, the FAA headquarters and CSX Rail East Coast. Now, I was working for Verizon, right? But anytime CSX, the railroad companies, they use telecommunication circuits to switch their tracks, okay? Sometimes these circuits can be copper, fiber, or even microwave. But our job was when one of these links had an issue, we could fix it remotely a lot of times. We could just switch it to a redundant circuit and then have a tech go out there and fix the main circuit. Same thing we did for the FAA headquarters, right? So that was an example of how communications was integral to transportation, right? You can automatically understand how commerce, how none of them can function without commerce, okay? And none of them can function without power. All of them are interdependent and make our society work. He's talking about one aspect of one single aspect of the energy market, jet fuel. All right. You ever seen Flight Aware? Whenever I have a loved one travel by plane, we pull up their flight number on Flight Aware, and it shows you their trip wherever they're going on the plane. The transponder shows you. But if you look at a Flight Aware screen and just tell it to show you air traffic over the United States right now, there's so many planes in the sky. They can't do it without jet fuel.
So we're talking about maybe 15 million barrels a day of crude oil and refined products that is disconnected from the global market.
I mean, what is happening now is the largest energy crisis we have ever faced in the history.
That's why the price of jet fuel and the cost of your summer vacation has skyrocketed. But even if this strait were to reopen tomorrow, getting jet fuel production back to pre-war levels and getting ticket prices down could take a long time.
All right, so we are going to be dealing with a sustained level of scarcity. I would say, look, we're going to be dealing with this probably for the rest of our lifetimes. And the reason for it is a lot of it is political policies. These green energy policies, they promote scarcity of actual sources that work, especially when you're looking at a growing global economy, right? So there's the political piece of it. The left isn't going anywhere. They're going to keep these green energy policies. They're going to keep promoting that. Now, the Greta Thunbergs, the little, functionaries, they are true believers. But the Al Gore owns a seaside palatial resort. There's no way in the hell he could have gotten a mortgage on that if the sea levels were going to rise in the way he says they are. The same thing with the Obamas. They got an oceanfront property up in Martha's Vineyard. Why would they invite their children over to that house if they really believe sea levels were going to rise? So you got the true believers who are the army of people that keep this stuff going. And then you got the folk at the top that understand what we're really doing is creating scarcity. If you were able to look at Obama's portfolio, Chevron is in there, trust me. All right. So you got the political piece. You got the proliferation of data centers. That's not going anywhere. So you got all of these, factors. And then we're always going to have Middle East instability. 3 factors that lead to sustained scarcity. And that, in turn, is going to keep us in a situation. I mean, everywhere you look, we're dealing with this. That's going to keep us in a situation where this S&P Energy Index, 538%, 538 points rather in the past 5 years, up 144%. Okay, going up as we watch it. We're sitting here watching it go up, right? Let me leave you guys with this. Not only are we dealing with this issue in the, people say, well, the United States, they want the oil. Maybe the United States just wants the scarcity. Maybe they just want the scarcity. All right, he's speaking Russian. Basically, what this is this is footage of oil refinery being attacked back in June. Okay, again, you can have all of the oil in the world. If you can't refine it, it's not very useful. Okay, so Russia, we got the sanctions on the one hand. We got them going back and forth with Ukraine. Ukraine's disrupting the wheat market. Russia's disrupting the oil market. We got to make these things work. The news will come on and they will get you in this constant state of fear and agitation. And they'll never say to you, you know what? This is all going on, but hey, might as well profit from it, right? All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. Rockhouse says, the summertime bills from my electric co-op average $110 or so a month on my average size house here in flyover country. Nice. Oh, I haven't seen a bill like that in a very long time. Very, very long time. Alex says, we wouldn't be in this situation if Joe Biden had not closed the Keystone Pipeline. That's one that definitely we want to keep all this infrastructure moving. Absolutely. Joe Biden, he came in and closed off that shale exploration out in the Midwest. That really hurt us, right? As follows. Taking away electric and we be cooked. No Wi-Fi for me. It's no water because we have our own well. Same here. We got an electric well. I've been there after hurricanes for a week or so. It sucks. Yeah, we have a generator because this house is unlivable. I mean, we don't have water when the electricity goes out. So the first thing I tied into that generator was the well pump. I got my sump pump, sump pump furnace, not the AC. We could tough it out without the AC. And I got a window unit that the generator can handle. But if we got 2 feet of snow on the ground and no furnace, that's deadly, right? So I got my furnace on it, kitchen, freezer down in the basement, and bedroom, master bedroom, and a hall light, one hall light, just because it illuminates like a lot of the upstairs. Let's see here. LJ says, when you get a chance, watch tokenization could transform traditional banking infrastructure. CEO says, our CEO Bart joins Mornings with Maria to discuss the impact on the Clarity Act. Let me see if I can copy and paste that. Hold on. Okay. As follows, the Doom Goblin. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, Greta. Greta looks like a little He-Man now. I thought when I looked at Greta when she was a little girl, I said, "That's a cute little girl." She's crazy as all get out, but the anger and the constant focus on negativity has made Greta look like a little man as she has aged. Her and that guy, Harry Sisson, they need to get together and just go off in a quiet corner. And, that's what they need to do. Calm down. Calm down. You're young people. Live your lives. Okay. Hey, David, I said when Air Force One is powered by wind and or solar, then you've convinced me. Until that point, I don't think so. Hey, LJ, look, Putin's getting up there. He's getting up there. You got to hold on to power in the USSR because you can't just do what he's done and then just retire peacefully to your dacha and go on the lecture circuit and write books. Nah, man, that's a Julius Caesar situation waiting to happen over there. It does, Alex. It does. It does. Harry Sissy. Yeah, I'm like, dude, just somebody wrote like the synopsis of our run, me and Ed Hale's run for office. My synopsis of it. Somebody sent me the link and said, hey, man, tell me what you think about this. So the first paragraph, the author of it said something to the effect of, in the 20 years I've been here on Earth, I stopped reading right after that. I'm like, dude, you just started voting. Okay. I have a pair of shoes, several, that are like half your age. I've owned cars that are older than this cat. I don't want to hear anything from you. In my 20 years, I've observed. You haven't observed a damn thing. Get back to me in another 20, and then maybe we can have this discussion. He's going to critique the election. Whatever. These young people. Back in my day. All right, guys, look, hit that thumbs up on your way out. The moral of the story here is very clear. I think I've laid out the case. You are the most intelligent audience on YouTube. You know that this energy scarcity creates a hell of an opportunity. In my mind, there's nothing speculative about this. I wonder, will AI catch on? You don't have to ask that question about energy, right? We need it. All right. You've seen the data. So, and when I say you've seen the data, you can do more of that research to figure out, what the returns have been over time. They've been great. Okay. So optimally, you're looking for 8 to 10% from the market. We're seeing a lot more than that from the energy companies. Okay. That's what Paul says. Yeah, exactly. When I was 20, I voted in one presidential election and didn't know crap. Exactly. Same here. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back with you soon. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.